Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. You know, there's different times of the year when many guests come into town and people open up their houses to be mekayim the mitzvah of Achnasas Archim. Achnasas Archim is G'dayla. Achnasas Archim Yosim B'Kabbalas Pnei Ashchina. It's a great mitzvah. Yet we find that based on a pasuk in Chumash in Parshas Vayera, that the Gemara tells us, the Gemara Bab Metzia tells us that women are not so excited to do this mitzvah, and it's questionable. Why would the Gemara say it? Why does the Gemara mean? What does the Gemara mean? And we see women are glad to perform this mitzvah. So let's get to the root of this discussion. The pasuk is in Parshas Vayera, with the Malachim, the guest who wore Malachim, came to visit Avram and Sarah. And Avram greets them and he says, please stay over, I will take care of you, we'll feed you, etc. So the pasuk says, Avram offered to feed them food, and then he turns to Sarah. Vayimar Avram ha'oila al Sarah. Avram went running to the tent to Sarah. Vayomer, and he says to her, Mari, hurry up, please. Make shloish se'in kemach soiles, lusi va'asi ugais. Hurry up, please, and gather together 3 sa'in. Sa'in is a measurement of kemach, of meal, grain, and soiles, fine flour. Knead it and make cakes and make bread, make food for them. What type of bread it was, because it's Pesach, etc. That's a time for itself. But make food for them. The description that Avram tells Sarah is kemach soiles. Now, kemach and soiles is make up your mind. Is it regular cheap grain or meal, or is it soiles, fine flour? Which one is it? So the Gemara in Baba Metzia says that this was a short, quick dialogue between Avram Avinu and Sarah. Avram says, please, hurry up, let's get them some food. They must be hungry, want to fulfill the mitzvah of Achnasas Archim. And Sarah says, should I do kemach? Should I do whatever I have, cheap stuff ready to go? And Avram Avinu says, no, do soiles. Let's treat them with royalty. Let's treat them extra special, comfort. So the Gemara says, Mikan, from here we know, Sha'isha eina tzara ba'archim. If Sarah's first approach is, let's give them what we got, kemach, Avram had to say, no, let's treat them better. Let's treat them with soiles. So the Gemara says it seems to be that women are not so happy in giving the goods away to guests, and Avram had to push it. Avram had to demand it. Now, first of all, the obvious question is, why is the Gemara telling this to us? Why is the Gemara telling us that Sarah is a nat Sarah barachim, Sarah imenu? And one of the Mefarshim says, no way, Sarah is, and don't consider Sarah balas mum rachman al. Don't make her have a blemish that she was cheap. It's just on comparison to Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu midas hachesed. It's not in that level. But toiv ayin hi tevayrach, a good eye, a person with a good eye willing to give is Sarah. So it's not degrading chas v'shalom Sarah, but in comparison to Avram. But in the simple pshat in the pasuk, it doesn't look like this is the dialogue that Sarah says kemach and Avram answers soiles, because the pasuk says vayomer Mari shloish in kemach soiles. It seems to be Avram is the one that's saying it, and there's actually a gersa that says Avram is saying that. But what does it really mean that Isha eina tzara barachin? So I did see a fascinating pshat from the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoelish. He brings, and he bases it on a simple shaila. We know that there's Taryag mitzvahs. There's Ramach mitzvahs aseh, 248 mitzvahs aseh. From the 248 mitzvahs aseh plus the mitzvahs the Rabbanan, we know that we don't make a bracha on every mitzvah. Classical example, we don't make a bracha on kibbut avayim. It's an aseres adibris. Not every time you give your father a cup of coffee, you make a bracha. Why? Because there's a different explanations why, which mitzvahs are you obligated to make a bracha on, which mitzvahs you're not. The Rajba says that the reason why you don't make a mitzvah on the bracha of tzedakah is because even though you're willing to fulfill the mitzvah and you're about to give the poor man money, who says he will take it? And if you're making a bracha, it's a bracha levatala. It could be he won't end up taking the mitzvah, taking the money, and you didn't fulfill a mitzvah and you made a bracha. And therefore, says the Rashba, you don't make a bracha on tzedakah. Fraktet Satmar Rebbe, I don't understand. Everywhere in Torah we rely on chazakah, on common proven facts. It's a fact. It's almost a fact that if somebody comes to your door asking for money, he's hungry, he needs money, and you're about to slip out and give him cash, the chances of him not willing to take your money is nada. So why can't we just rely on that chazakah here? And the Satmar Rebbe goes on to say that perhaps we could connect this to the story in the Gemara Masechta Tainis. The famous story of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Nachum Ish Gamzu was traveling, and as he's traveling, he's loaded he has a lot of his family belongings and he's loaded with stuff. And on his traveling, a poor man comes over to him and says, "Help me, help me." So Nachum Ish Gamzu said, "Hold on, give me a minute. I'll unload. When I unload, I'll be able to help you out." At the time that he was unloading, the poor man couldn't survive and he passed out. And obviously, we know the discussion: was he allowed to say wait? Should he give him right away what he had handy, etc.? What's the discussion here? The discussion is there's a rule. There are two rules that sometimes play in simultaneously, and they're opposites. And the two rules are: sometimes we say mitzvah b'shaita adif. The mitzvah as right now, zriza magdimah l'mitzvah. Take care of the mitzvah that's at hand. From the other hand, we know that every mitzvah you want to do it in a mitzvah min hamufcha fashion, in a better way. How about to fulfill a mitzvah now? It won't be done as good if I wait a little and do it a little later. Which one overrules the other? That was the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu. The poor man needed some money. The poor man needed something. If he would have given him now, he would have whatever he had handy. Could have been enough, could have been not enough. But when he unloads and he sees what he has, he would have supported him in a much better way. So Nachum Ish Gamzu meant, if you wait a little, I'll take care of you better. Obviously, the story taught us that that's not the right thing to do. So the Satmar Rebbe says this is perhaps the dialogue between Avraham Avinu and Sarah. Avraham Avinu says, Sarah says, they're hungry. They're hungry. Maybe I'll just give them kamach. Maybe I'll just give them what they have right now. Those fancy schmancy stuff. Avraham Avinu says no. They'll wait a little if it takes a little more time, but then treat them in a way of soilus. So if you learn pshat that way, then Sarah is not being negative by offering kamach. She actually wants to fulfill the mitzvah right away and in a faster way. That's one way he translates it. Another way he translates it, that we know that a shulchan today, that today's days, the person's table where he feeds his family and he feeds guests is corresponding to mizbeach of the old of the Beis Hamikdash. Zeh ha-shulchan asher lefnei Hashem. Just like the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan were mechaper, shulchan lefnei Hashem and mechaper. So the karbanos on the mizbeach were all given soilus, fine flour, not kamach. Avraham Avinu treated his shulchan, his guest, like the mizbeach. And he says, I got to give them soilus. Sarah says, no. This is not a mizbeach. This is only the issue of hachnasas archim. For hachnasas archim, it's enough to give kamach. It's not a mizbeach. And he interprets, this is pshat. Isha eineha tzara ba'archin. She cheapened how high the level of the mitzvah of hachnasas archim is. Avraham taught us that achnasas archim is so great, not only as a mitzvah, but it is as a carbon and a mizbeach that needs soilus. And Sarah says it's a mitzvah on its own, but it's not up there. Yashikoyach, and please join us again next week.